Believe it or not, it's the 6th year since starting the Open. And so for all the new folks, there's the good question of what in the heck is the Open and what's the purpose?
I know you remember, but we started with a sectional, and then we had our regional, much like it is today, and the games, of course. It was still, we just left the ranch. But you didn't have to be too much of a economist or a math guy to look at the growth rate of affiliates, which is astronomical, and to then look at the popularity of the games, which was exceeding that astronomical growth, to realize that we were soon going to have more sectionals to launch this thing, individual events around the world, than we might have affiliates. And I was wondering how we might manage that, and it seemed like we'd have to build a website just to process the data. And I thought, well, maybe we don't need the events,
Right.
as standalone competitions judged and monitored by us, but maybe we could open this up to the world. It was an economic and a logistic necessity, and it's been wonderful. It's been wonderful.
And that kind of explains why, we have this huge online competition, but, why have it in the first place? What are we searching for? What's the point?
Yeah, the idea was find the fittest man and woman in the world, and then the fittest teenagers and seniors and masters and others, and adaptive athletes and everything else that's sure to come. But you need a broad enough net. You want to cover the world. You need a large number of participants, and I'd say we've been wonderfully successful with that. Look, the first year we invited 40 of our best friends, fittest people we knew, and said that at the end of a day or two of workouts that would be the fittest person in the world. We felt confident of it. We couldn't find anyone fitter. Now I think there's a reasonable. It's a much more reasonable position mathematically with more than a quarter of a million participants.
Well, back in the day, it was just enough to say that, the so-and-so's pretty fit. No one's beating him.
Right.
In the gym, there's no real metric to say that, this guy is.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure it took the wind out of some people's sails and elevated some others that we'd never heard of and are now kind of household names.
That's right. We used to be told, well, my friend Clay Aikens isn't here. You're lucky he's not.
He'd have beat you down.
That's right. But now nobody's even offering anybody up. But I'd still be willing to hold open seats for walk-ons in the final event in the last heat.
I
If
remember.
anyone was talk a big enough game.
I don't know when it was. It was some random interview that you did where basically it was just throwing the gauntlet out there of, that there are these claims, so-and-so is fitter than so-and-so, and you're like, hey, just shoot me an email. Would be more than happy for you to come here and put your money where your mouth is. Did anyone ever pony up?
Nope.
Not a single
No.
one.
And it still holds. Is anyone out there that feels for some reason or another you just can't participate in the process, if you're a big enough name, I'd love to work it in.
I sign up for the Open. It's something that I do individually. My score is going to be judged against everyone else, but it's a little more than an individual competition. There's a large, how is there a large communal aspect to what initially might be thought of as just you competing solo?
Yeah, this community loves to work out and loves to do things together, and each box in the tribe that forms that box has a powerful relationship together. They work together, and this is that time of year where they not only rank themselves amongst each other, but they kind of look globally to see where they stand, and it's all really exciting. I've got in-laws that the very year they started CrossFit and this is male and female, right? Masters, separated by 5 or 6 years, so not even in the same age category, but they're in a life or death struggle for that global ranking.
Of course.
And at the end, they ended up, I think it was 125th and 141st in the world in their respective age groups and for their genders. And it had resolute and powerful significance in the house. There was a crowning that day.
Looking back, come a long way since getting tossed out of your first gym in Santa Cruz, and now all of a sudden we've got 13,000 affiliates all around the world. What kind of a role do those affiliates play in the Open process?
They're the heart of the whole thing. I think it was less than 1% of the competitions of the 275,000 registrants, far less than 1% did what they did outside of a box. And so this is an affiliate competition. It's for me, the Open is the heart of the games. It's the best part. It happens in the homeland, the global homeland, and we learn a lot through that process.
There's a long process to crown the fittest man and woman, fittest team, and so forth. It all starts with the Open, ends with who we see standing on the podium. How predictive do you feel what happens in the Open is what's the final outcome's actually going to be?
It's been wonderfully predictive, and the regionals and the finals are no more upsetting of the order of the placers than is any week in the Open. So it's a pretty neat process, and we got a lot of confidence in it.
Well, I'm sure you remember back in the day, every year that goes by, we have more and more data. But when it first was coming out and no one else in the world was even trying to test fitness, of course there was the internet experts, the grumblings of saying, the process doesn't work, how can you be so sure? This isn't this is a cracked system. What do those conversations look like now that we're going to be in our 10th year of the CrossFit Games?
The put up or shut up quality becomes overwhelming at the point of 275,000 competitors. Right. And I think we're on solid grounds. Yeah, I like our position.
And 139 countries competed last year in the Open. I don't know anyone else that's kind of drawing from that kind of a pool.
We're able to determine through the Open who the fittest Italian and the fittest Spaniard and the fittest American, and it's a thing really remains to be determined after that is who the fittest person in the world may be. But the process is well underway. Yeah, it's amazing what kind of resolution develops. Even at the end of the first week, the second week, the third week, it's the writing becomes apparent on the wall, on the proverbial wall.
Things that occur in a communal aspect drive excellence in a way that's kind of tough to quantify until you actually see it happen. So how maybe is what's happening in the Open and these bonds that are formed, making people better, not just on the scoreboard.
The miracle that is the relationship of the people in the box, whether it's for a charity of an ailing child or to help replace equipment damaged in a flood, or it's to crown the fittest in the world, the spirit seems to be the same in our community. And I think that the communal aspect of the Open is probably more important than the mechanics and dynamics of who it is that ends up on top.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the gyms, I know this, that the gyms that have no contenders and nor are they looking for them, but they have full participation. And in that sense, those are the environments where everyone's a champion, everybody, and that's a beautiful thing.